people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this per tweet from Michael Benson. Eddie Hearn has revealed that Gervonta Davis has not accepted their offer for the Conor Benn fight as things stand, and so they are now in talks with Danny Garcia as well as 4 or 5 other potential opponents for Benn's next fight.
Who's surprised?
I'm not. I never thought this fight was going to materialize, so what does that bring the head count to? Gervonta's definitely not fighting Shakur Stevenson, but he's not fighting Devin Haney either, in spite of Turki Al-Sheikh's expressed interest in making that fight and paying for that fight. He's not fighting Devin. He's not fighting Conor.
Conor Benn, who took to his social media, his Instagram stories, saying, "Don't ever at me again, Gervonta."
The Ryan Garcia fight took place in April of last year.
Right.
Rumor has it that this year, the PBC won't be doing any shows. There's going to be a blackout in April. They're doing the March show at the end of March. No shows in April, then presumably Canelo's next fight in May.
That's the rumor.
No shows in April. Don't shoot the messenger. Which essentially means that if and when Gervonta Davis comes back, it will have been over a year's time since he last fought.
A year to over a year.
If he's going to fight someone on his own side of things, if he's going to fight a PBC fighter, say Frank Martin, who says he's got some big news coming, some big fight news, if he fights a Frank Martin or a Rayo Valenzuela, I can tell you now that's not going to do what he did with Ryan Garcia. That's not going to do half the numbers that he did with Ryan Garcia, making it abundantly clear.
What if Garcia versus Haney does better at the box office than Gervonta and whoever he's fighting next?
Frank Martin, Rayo Valenzuela. What if Garcia versus Haney sells more pay-per-views than Gervonta versus Rayo or Gervonta versus Frank Martin?
That's not good.
Not if you're one of these people that runs around saying that Gervonta is the face of boxing, all the while he's not the top-earning boxer in boxing. That's Canelo.
Not Gervonta.
And not if Ryan and Devin's pay-per-view sells more than Gervonta's next pay-per-view. But we'll see. I'm not actually the least bit concerned with the career of Gervonta Davis or what he's going to do, because I already know what he's not going to do. He's not going to fight Shakur. He's not going to fight Devin. I don't think he's going to fight Teofimo. I don't think he's going to do anything.
Then why talk about him?
Because that's the news. As it pertains to at least one career that I am interested in, the career of Conor Benn, Gervonta Davis is not going to be fighting Conor Benn, and I don't think anybody's surprised. Now, as it pertains to Conor Benn, Eddie says he's talking to Danny Garcia. He's talking to him.
Danny was supposed to fight Lara. They never got the fight over the line. Now Lara's fighting his mandatory challenger, Michael Zarafa, and Danny needs a dance partner.
Danny wants a 7-figure payday. How many people are willing to give him one? That's the question.
How much does it take to get Danny Garcia in the ring with Conor Benn?
How much money? How much is it going to take? We'll find out soon enough. If they can't get Danny in the ring with Conor, Eddie says they're talking to something like 4 or 5 other guys. I imagine that, I don't know, maybe one of them is Blair Cobbs. He's not doing anything right now. Maybe another is a Montestanionis, WBA regular champion who hasn't fought in over a year.
He's been fighting on the PBC side of things, but the PBC ain't got that many fight dates right now, so maybe the people at Matchroom can find use for him.
Maybe. I'm confident people at Matchroom will find someone for Conor to fight, whether it's Danny Garcia or somebody else. They'll find him a dance partner. They can do that.
What about Gervonta?
With Gervonta, it's not really about boxing, you understand. With Gervonta and the affinity that some people have for him, it's not actually about boxing.
It's tribalism.
Identity politics, but it's not about boxing. It's really not about boxing, and it was never about boxing. Really don't see what a Gervonta Davis fan would have to be excited about from a boxing perspective, but that's the wrong perspective to begin with. They think he hails the moon and the stars for the simple fact that they identify with him, and he has so draped himself in ugly tattoos.
So focused on what they want him to be, they don't see him for what he is, and that's fine, that's all right, even if they don't. I do.
He's a hype job.
Not the first, and he won't be the last.
That he's not fighting Conor Benn isn't at all surprising. As stated, I never expected him to. Who he does fight, I don't know. I don't really care either, to be honest.
It seems like you can't pay him enough money to get him in the ring with Devin Haney, and even though he's the one who expressed an interest in fighting Conor, he's also the one who's walking away. Fuck him, who needs him?
In men's heavyweight news, Sergey Lapine, the coach and director of sport for Alexander Usyk, has claimed that the circumstances are more than suspicious regarding Tyson Fury's cut that ruled him out of his February 17th clash with Usyk.
Everybody on Usyk's side seems convinced that the cut is a self-inflicted wound, that the whole thing is staged, and what this is really all about is him trying to get out of this fight.
I myself am suspicious of the whole thing because it seems like getting Tyson Fury in the ring with Alexander Usyk is quite problematic, even before Turki Al-Sheikh came into it.
How many times did you see him publicly blow off the idea that he should fight Alexander Usyk?
Before and after Alexander Usyk beat Anthony Joshua, how many times did you see Tyson Fury publicly blowing off that idea? Tyson Fury makes such a mess of things that you tend to forget the finer details, that by all accounts, they were supposed to get this thing over the line last year, that Tyson Fury was supposed to fight Usyk right after the Ngannou fight.
Right.
But because he stunk out the joint in the Ngannou fight and got sat on his ass, they pushed the fight back.
They pushed it to this year.
I think people tend to forget that the fight was supposed to have gone down late last year, then they pushed it into early this year, only so that early this year, another postponement.
And it's all on Fury's side. It's all on Fury's side.
That people can watch this play out publicly and still go up to bat for Tyson Fury, saying it's preposterous to suggest that he would have cut himself, that he would try to skip out on the Usyk fight when he stands to make so much money from the fight. The idea that a boxer would fake an injury to get out of a fight.
I don't romanticize boxers.
I mean, it takes a lot of guts and a lot of grit and a lot of courage to do what they do, but make no mistake, I don't romanticize them. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that if one boxer doesn't like a fight for whatever reason, he might so fake an injury to get out of it.
Especially if that box is Tyson Fury.
I never bought the ankle injury that delayed the Klitschko rematch or the mental health bit that Tyson Fury was mentally unfit to fight. Yeah, I never bought into any of that.
It's all bullshit.
I don't think he wants this fight. I don't. I think that maybe he was on board when he first went into camp, and maybe he got lumped up in sparring a bit, and maybe he decided in the middle of the camp he doesn't really want to do this, so he found a way out of it. That's what I think.
He doesn't want it.
Can't be all that confident. He got sat on his ass late last year by a novice boxer who never had a professional boxing match. In front of the whole world, he got embarrassed.
He canceled the post-fight press conference, remember?
He got embarrassed. You know he did. And people watch this play out publicly and still make excuses for him. Why are they so enamored with this fighter? And it's because he beat Wilder. It's because he beat an American on American soil.
They think that makes him special.
That he beat Deontay Wilder when there was never nothing special about Deontay Wilder. He's another guy they talked up for any and every reason outside of boxing, because as far as boxing,
he sucks.
They read way too much into it and hyped up Tyson Fury to obscene amounts, obscene proportions, and they're still hanging on to that perception. The old saying goes, it's actually easier to fool someone than to convince them that they have been fooled.
Who said that?
I think it was Mark Twain, and that definitely applies here. People don't want to admit to themselves, even when they're watching all of this play out publicly, even when they see Tyson Fury get sat on his ass by a guy who never really boxed before, they don't want to let go of what they thought because they don't want to admit that they got it wrong. They were wrong about this guy. There's only one way that he can save face for them, and that's by fighting Usyk and beating Usyk, but therein lies the dilemma. For him to do that, you have to get him in the ring with Usyk, and you will notice that it's one problem after another, just one delay after the other, in sequence. It's always something, and it's always on Fury's side.
Character goes a long way. Having character as opposed to just being one.
Tyson Fury is a character. He's definitely a character, but he has no character. Whereas Sergey Lapine and Egis Klimas and Alexander Krassyuk, Usyk himself, these are no-nonsense characters. These are professionals.
They're not time wasters. They don't fuck around. You could see that in Usyk's career. Look at his run at cruiserweight.
And look at what he's done at heavyweight. This is a no-fuss, no-muss, no-nonsense customer who's not hard to make a fight with. He's not hard to deal with, not hard to negotiate with. In fact, the most problems that Usyk has ever had making a fight involve Fury, because when Fury's involved, he's the common denominator.
With problems, with delays, with postponements, He's the common denominator.
And it's very obvious. I don't look at him through rose-tinted lenses like some others do. What I see is a man who doesn't want this fight. He's never wanted this fight.
But now he's backed into a corner.
There's a $10 million penalty for either fighter if they pull out of this fight. But the ones who made this suggestion, the ones who made this proposition, with Team Usyk.
That's where it came from.
And it's not $10 million out of the fighters' fight purses for this fight. No, it's $10 million out of the fighters' own bank accounts. It's their own money that's on the line.
So fuck around, Fury.
Fuck around. When have you ever heard of a team having to resort to this just to ensure that the other man shows up? Just to ensure that the other man fights on the night? When have you ever heard of this in professional boxing? I've been watching this sport a long time. I've never seen anything like this.
But there are some who still want to protect Tyson Fury's image. Some who want to protect his unbeaten record.
As many as 6 judges could be ringside for Usyk versus Fury if the WBC have their way. Most are interpreting this suggestion from WBC President Mauricio Suleiman as a means to protect Tyson Fury. WBC President Mauricio Suleiman has made the bold proposition that there should be as many as 6 judges working the undisputed heavyweight title fight at Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on May 18th. Explaining his position, Suleiman said that his only intention is to make sure there's no controversy. Boxing is a sport in which change is very difficult to get. We're purists, traditionalists. We don't want changes.
Like you don't want to change 12 threes from 10 twos for women's boxing matches, right? Because you're not open to that idea, so why are you open to this one?
When Amanda Serrano demanded that she box for 12 3-minute rounds instead of 10 2-minute rounds, the World Boxing Council didn't want to experiment then. They weren't open to new ideas then, so why are they open to new ideas now? You're not open to more minutes in a round or more rounds in a women's boxing match, but you're open to more judges.
More judges is more different opinions, more different interpretations of a round, of a fight.
So how exactly does that avert controversy? The president continued, I will continue to make the proposal. Some like the idea. Some of the people in the decision-making process, we will see. We had proposed to use 5 judges or 6 judges. However, that was not considered. It did not happen. I would still recommend it. We do have a remote scoring system which is used for training and evaluating ring officials from all over the world. They score it live in the WBC system that we developed. We have found through fights done in this system that the more officials that score a fight, the less possibility of a wrong decision.
And I have found that none of the other alphabet organizations meddle quite as much as the World Boxing Council and as much as Mauricio Suleiman.
He's meddling. It's just plain old meddling. That's what he's doing. Listen, you're not the one paying for the show.
You're not in charge.
You're not the promoter. You're not the event coordinator. You're not the financier. You're not investing anything. But you have all these fucking suggestions. If you want to try out this little experiment of yours, now is not the time to do it. This is not the fight for that.
Ideally, you would do that with a smaller show, not a big one like this.
Anybody can have a bad night. If you have one judge have a bad night and the 2 others get it correct, you still save the fight. You have 2 judges with a difficult fight, and then 1 round can shift the whole result. But if you have more officials, then the possibility of a wrong score goes to a minimum. But we will see. That's the only intention, to make sure there's no controversy. All 4 sanctioning bodies are involved with this fight, you understand. It's not just the WBC, it's also the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF. But you will notice that it's only the WBC. It's only Mauricio Suleiman.
He's the only one who won't shut the fuck up.
Making suggestions. Because this is your idea, I'm going to assume that the additional judges would be what? Your judges, WBC officials, and who's the WBC champion?
Fury.
Gee, if I didn't know better, I'd say that the WBC president is working hard so it stays that way. Working hard so that Fury can go into this fight with an edge.
Why would he do that?
Because I think Fury's paying him, but he says that's the only intention, to make sure there's no controversy. Now we have the biggest fight in 25 years in the heavyweight division, so we have to try to do our best. Professional boxing has long used 3 ringside judges to score a bout, and it seems unlikely that Suleiman will receive much support for his proposal, but he's sticking with it.
Tell him to stick it up his ass.
Another innovation Suleiman would like to see implemented for Usyk versus Fury is the use of video replays.
Hey, I got a question. For all these fucking suggestions that Mauricio's making, Who's supposed to pay for all of this? Is he paying for all of this?
No, it would likely be the event coordinators, whatever promoter is at the helm of promotion, whoever's financing the event. See, it's easy to make a lot of suggestions when you're not paying for anything. Oh yeah, you, me, and everybody, we're all fucking geniuses when we ain't gotta foot the bill. Mauricio doesn't have to foot the bill.
Why doesn't he shut the fuck up?
I believe it will happen. Now that the fight has been postponed until May 18th, 3 months from now, we will look into it. The initial idea was to put together specific guidelines of the usage of instant replay, and we're in that process. So we're going to work with the producers of the feed to see what equipment and what communications are needed. What the review panel will be, just go into details. As an example, we did an instant replay in the UK with Charlie Edwards and Julio Cesar Martinez, and we just did an instant replay in Fury versus Ngannou when Fury was cut. The referee, he didn't see any action that was made by the cut, ruled it a punch, and then the British Boxing Board of Control and myself looked at the screen, the big screen in the stadium, and saw the headbutt. So we called it officially a clash of heads.
Look, instant replay for a boxing match. That's not a bad idea. That isn't. But 6 judges. 6 judges. 2 times as many judges.
What do you think that's about?
I think that Mauricio Suleiman can't be trusted. I think that he wants more judges scoring the fight because that's more people that he can control, more people that can be bribed.
More judges scoring a fight is just more interpretations.
That doesn't bring it more finality, that brings it less finality, because what if 5 or 6 of the judges' scores are all over the place?
If the suggestion is coming from the World Boxing Council, if it's coming from Mauricio, then it automatically can't be trusted. Because you don't see Paco Veracel, you don't see Daryl Peebles, you don't see any of the other sanctioning bodies or their presidents meddling as much as Mauricio is meddling.
You don't see Gilberto Mendoza making this recommendation. It's always Mauricio, it's always the WBC, focused on doing everything but the job they're supposed to do.
All these suggestions and recommendations that no one was asking for, like a division in between cruiserweight and heavyweight, it's been 2 years since the inception of the Bridgerweight division, and how are things at Bridgerweight going?
Nowhere.
And what about franchise titles and franchise champions? It's been about 4 years since you came up with that bright idea. Where are things with that?
Nowhere.
Currently, there are no active franchise champions anywhere in any division. In fact, I'm very thankful for that that's been phased out.
These are just different systems of control because the WBC are the ones making all these recommendations.
If anybody's on board for this stuff, that would give the World Boxing Council a bit more say-so and a bit more control in the situation.
Because it's their idea.
I don't think Team Usyk are gonna go for any of this. I don't. If you want to experiment and try new things out, you need to be doing it on a smaller scale, not a big one like the undisputed title fight at heavyweight.
Go do a dry run at atomweight or something.
If you want my opinion, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, I think this is just the WBC's way of trying to manipulate what happens, having greater control to do that.
Greater ability so that Fury stays champion. It's him who they have in mind.
If I had to guess what this is really all about, that's what I think it's about.